This is the Zhiyun Crane 4, capable of handling pretty much any mirrorless camera and lens combination, and small cinema cameras. Let's put that to the test. With the Crane 4's improved weight handling capacity, the first thing I wanted to check was, could it handle my FX6? Now, I didn't want to break it all the way down. I did take the V-mount battery off because that's a little bit too weird or too awkward to balance, but I did want to keep the top handle on because all the audio comes in there, and I want to keep the monitor on. Side handle definitely comes off because it is just going to make it too wide and too awkward of a load to balance. So even with all that stuff on there, it does balance, and this is the 24-105 lens. It does balance okay, but it's too top heavy still, but that's okay. If I've learned anything from Josh Yo at Make Art Now, it's that counterweights solve pretty much every issue. So with 150 grams worth of counterweight, it balances perfectly top to bottom, all sides, nothing touches in the back, so you have a full range of motion with the FX6, top handle, monitor, and the 24-105, which is not a lightweight lens. Next up, cinema lenses. The reason I wanted to try cinema lenses is you can change lenses out generally without having to move focus motors. Plus, the fact that this has a nice control wheel right where your finger rests means you can manually pull focus while you're shooting with cinema glass, or you could use it for a zoom motor as well. This is not going to work with the FX6 because they are too large, too long, and too heavy with the FX6 and the way it has to balance, so I'm going to switch out here to my A1. Why not? We'll get a nice 8K footage out of this if we wanted to try it. As you can see, no counterweights, the A1 and the Laowa 75-180 works perfectly with a focus motor. The best part of this is that you can pull focus really easily with your finger because your finger naturally rests exactly where the control wheel is. So a quick calibration, once the lens is installed and balanced, the focus motor finds the A and B endpoints, and then you're set and ready to go. And this is why I wanted to try cinema glass. Now that I've balanced one of them, I can switch out with the 28-75, and because it's just a few grams lighter, it takes some minor adjustments, but the focus motor and everything else stays exactly in place. Another quick calibration, and this lens is ready to roll. Now these are not lightweight lenses because they are really nice cinema zoom lenses, which means they're 1,400, 1,500 grams each, plus another 1,000 for the A1, so we're 2,500 grams, and then you've got the focus motor and any other little accessories we want to add on. So already approaching 3,000 grams, and this gimbal is having no issues at all. The next question is, can it balance a 100-400 Sony G Master lens on the A1? First things first, we want to take off the foot because we want the payload to be as low as possible. Easy enough, there's a 1/4-20 directly underneath it. So we're going to screw the quick release plate directly to that. Now by balancing the 100-400 at 200 millimeters, it means we should be able to go all the way out to 400 or all the way into 100 and still not have any issues with balance on the gimbal. These motors are really strong. They should have no problem with this at all. This video is sponsored by Zhiyun. They sent me this gimbal a few weeks ago to test and work with here in Alaska, but they don't get any input into this video and they don't get to see this video before it's launched. Now you might be asking why you would want to balance a 100-400 millimeter lens on a gimbal when most people traditionally just want to use wide lenses. Well, the reason is you can't get anything like this any other way. So far, this gimbal has shown that it can handle a lot of weight really easy with no issues at all. And even not being totally balanced, the new balance indicator lights on the gimbal give you a good idea of what exactly is out of balance. But even if it is out of balance, the motors are so strong that it's been able to handle pretty much anything I've thrown at this thing with no problems. But the next thing I want to try is putting it on a car rig. This is the Tiltra Hydra, a really versatile car rig mount system that allows you to move from one position to another really quickly, and it gives you a great spot to be able to mount pretty much anything that you're going to film on a car, either back in toward the car, on the side of the car, or in this case, on the hood, in the front, so that we can get, hopefully, some great parallax shots. I feel really good about this. Should be fine. Got the camera, a 360 camera, strapped in for safety. What could possibly go wrong? You have to remember is that these shots are all coming from a gimbal mounted on the hood of a car going 70 miles an hour down the road on not the smoothest pavement in the world. And considering all of that, it did well. In fact, my biggest issue was trying to control the gimbal using just my phone and the joystick on the phone. And I found out that actually, if I was going straight for quite a while, the easiest thing was to put the gimbal in lock mode and then find the spot that I wanted to film, or use the phone in the motion sync mode, hold the phone flat, and just move the phone around to where I wanted. I would love to test this system out with a proper joystick that would give me full remote control over the gimbal, but a much finer tuned sense of control over the gimbal movement. The Crane 4 is an incredibly powerful gimbal. It has the best algorithms that I've seen out of any Zhiyun gimbal yet, which is not surprising because they've been pushing the envelope for a while, but including the 10-watt light that's bicolor, very bright if you need it. I don't right now because it's summertime in Alaska and we don't get a lot of darkness. And the very bright OLED screen that was easy for me to see from even inside the car while we were driving down the road, even though it was 6-7 feet away, makes it great. The other thing that's nice is this side handle that works both as a handle on the side like this, where you can get really good steady shots, or flip it around and move it so that you can use it in briefcase mode, which is one of my favorite ways to get low shots. And then there's also this new wrist rest, which does alleviate a lot of stress on your wrist if you're holding the gimbal at angles like this to get the smoothest footage. And even using the gimbal upside down, although there's a very specific way you need to move it from right side up to upside down, as you can see here. If you don't do it this way, it'll bottom out against the light right here because there's not a lot of range of motion there because of the size of the light, and it'll give you issues. But if you do it sideways like I show you here in the video, then the gimbal works really well. I did run into an issue a couple of times where the gimbal wasn't stabilizing correctly, but I ran a quick calibration and then it stabilized great after that. Something I'm super glad to see Zhiyun starting to include in their gimbals is Bluetooth control over the shutter button, which means you don't have to use any wires to start and stop recording on your camera. Linked in the description is both a link for the gimbal if you want to check that out, if you've got a C70, Komodo, FX6, anything like that. There's also a link down there for a full compatibility list of cameras and lens combinations. Oddly enough, none of which included the lens and camera combinations that I tried in this video, but as you can see, they do work, provided you properly balance things. Next, you're going to want to check out this video right here. I'll see you over there. As always, if you have questions, ask me in the comments below, or you can join my live stream, which happens most Wednesday nights from 4 p.m. Alaska time, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you again soon in the next video. Cheers.